All right, everybody, welcome back. It's the end of the world. Michael and Stu.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu. And today we are talking about a brilliant, some would even say a work of genius. That's right. It's a documentary from 2013 for part of a National Geographic series called How to Survive the End of the World. And the first episode deals with, what else? Zombies.
Yes, and to be clear, and I think it's fair to say right off the top that there are multiple episodes of this for any listeners who want to get into it, and we will not be doing a 6-part series, but I am encouraged enough by the first one. We'll see how this goes, that we might sort of split them up throughout the next, 6 months of the podcast, just to check in on how one may survive things like a zombie Earth and whatever is.
Yeah, and I mean, these are 40 minutes. They're pretty fun, and it's also
like, documentary is an interesting. It's like I know that's strictly.
It's
the
more
genre.
like infotainment.
Infotainment, like futurism, hypothetical.
Yeah,
right. It feels different than a documentary, as stupid as that sounds.
No, you're right. There's a lot of hypotheticals, as you point out correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll dip into this series from time to time. It's old enough now that it's kind of its datedness is kind of charming, and also some things have happened in the real world, as we will soon discuss.
Yeah, I don't know how it will be for the other ones, but I think probably similar. But I think this is kind of what makes it interesting. If you're wondering why we chose it, partly because it did come out in 2013, and especially with the first episode, it's proven a little bit interesting just to look at, even that short time ago, some of the ideas about how one may react to certain.
Yeah, and we also chose it, of course, because it has the end of the world in the title. I mean, I think
yes, our content brethren.
Yes. But before we talk about that in more detail, seems like Trump has settled yet another lawsuit for 25 million approximately from YouTube.
24.5 after being suspended following J6.
Yeah, so this means I think this was also the last major lawsuit remaining from that era. He'd already settled with Facebook and Twitter and with various broadcasters, right? And all of this is on the heels of, obviously the rhetorical intensification we've seen in the aftermath of the Kirk assassination with the
and I don't think I want to dwell too much on regurgitating some of that stuff, but I think it is important to note that, you did make the point that these things never go well. So, the people cheering it on or whatever, these things never go well, especially for people of, let's say, our political persuasions. And one of the things that does seem to be happening which has been happening our entire lifetime, not just in moments of political violence, is a consistent opening up and facilitation and acquiescence to increasingly right-wing language, right? The irony of the Kirk thing, sort of in context of this Trump free speech stuff, is that by virtue of Kirk's speech, which is was often hateful or manipulative, I'm not trying to get into that again.
Sure.
But the fact is that, he often engaged, at the least, in bad faith argumentation.
Oh, yeah.
But what is happening is it's allowing this to be accepted in a different way with sort of a reverence. And it's interesting to see, and Trump is great at this, I will give him this, that the $22 million it is actually being given to a nonprofit Trust for the National Mall, which is, quote, an article I have here, dedicated to restoring, preserving, and elevating the National Mall and to support the construction of the White House ballroom.
Oh, good, good.
And so, of course, you've got like it's tied into the J6 stuff. And so he's like, you know what? Let's help with the mall and my ballroom. Uh, but yeah, these tech places kicked up a bit of a fuss, right? Some sort of self awareness that they may have played a role in something like J6, and then things get ramped up with something like Kirk, and basically it feels like a widespread capitulation from network TV
Well,
down,
and on
right?
top of that, although, we have seen a lot of pushback since the Kimmel ban. Apparently 1.7 million people canceled their Disney accounts in the wake of Kimmel being banned.
Yeah, and then right when he got put back on, you had like Cynthia Nixon. Did you see that? She's like,
No, what did she say?
I guess she had made like a stink about canceling, which okay. I mean,
It's
I
your
mean,
prerogative.
in fairness, if we're going to reduce our entire lives to transactional
Yeah,
behavior,
to just pure capitalism.
and we are nothing but, you know, money made flesh and bone. That like, sure, okay,
Yeah.
I actually kind of get it. Like, no, if you're not going to let people say what they want, although obviously there's a bunch of things you
What's the
can't
old
say.
American idiom, voting with your feet, right? You leave
Yes,
when you don't like something.
that's right. And of course, a matter of days later, which is a kind of good bait and switch again by Trump and co. of making a bunch of people on the left start saying that now that Jimmy Kimmel is suspended, uh, we have crossed the Rubicon into a full fascist authoritarian state.
Certainly
And
not the 2 years of nonstop slaughter and
yeah,
people
yeah,
being
yeah,
fired and,
that's
being
right,
deported for speech
right.
over
The scrapping of entire
Gaza.
departments of the government, sure, but
Yeah.
the fact that Jimmy Kimmel couldn't get his bits off for 72 hours or whatever. But of course, so then she came back with like wearing, I believe, like Mickey Minnie Mouse ears, like being like, "Come back to Disney,"
What? Why? Oh God. Well, because she may have work in the
because
future from Disney.
because it's like they wanting to pretend that in any way the folks at Disney really just were like, absolutely not. Now that we've reconsidered, we are actual bastions of free speech,
Right.
and the vanguard of free speech belongs to the mantle of the Jimmy Kimmel show,
Yeah. Um
And again, not to make light of it too much. I mean, at first they came for Jimmy Kimmel, and I said nothing as we, like
yeah.
it is not good, but um, like I said about the Kirk stuff when we did talk about it, feels like a stress test in some ways, at least how the right and how the right wing media ecosystem and the leaders of the right, Trump down, have treated it, and I think they've unfortunately been pretty effective so far.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not good. It's
And we should say that Bad Bunny was just named Super Bowl halftime
and MAGA
performer.
is very unhappy. They did
Oh,
not.
seriously?
Yeah.
I don't know who
They
it
don't
is,
want
and
like a
I
person who
say
has a
this.
large percentage of their work is in Spanish. Like that's
The songs are in Spanish.
yeah, yeah. I mean not all of them, but yeah.
Okay.
So it seems like they're reading it as a sop to the
I mean, I'm not in
migrant
that.
community,
I
which doesn't make
I
sense
object. I object to Bad Bunny being the
just
halftime
because you
performer,
haven't heard of Bad Bunny.
just because it's an illustration of my age and impending death.
I mean,
That I
I'm not going to pretend I'm out here like blasting the newest Bad Bunny
No, but
single.
you're aware, right? It's fair enough. So I could have been. We're the same age basically. But
Actually, I'm a little bit older. So
I
you're
was hoping
even
we might
you're
drag the remnants of the Who back out for a
oh
minute.
yeah. Well, I was thinking like whatever happened to like Ringo Starr and his all-star band? What?
I've seen David Lee Roth and the AC/DC look great recently. Frankie Valli, maybe.
I mean,
Mm.
Ozzy's dead. I was thinking maybe this is the time for Kelly Osbourne to return to her roots. Maybe do a full performance of her breakthrough
Or
smash,
like
Shut Up.
a medley of like the Osborne types of that era. Like we bring up Ashley Simpson, maybe
Oh
comes on
yeah,
stage.
Kelly Osbourne,
Finally, she's
Ash.
allowed to lip sync without the fear of aggravation.
Yes. Well, in Trump's America, you are allowed to lip sync.
Yeah,
That's
unless it's in Spanish, apparently.
yes. And then that case, all bets are off.
Well, now that I know that, I hope he has a hell of a show.
Sure, it'll be good. I mean, what are these things? Like,
Yeah.
it's the spectacle. Like,
All right. I mean, I said this to you after it happened. Even the Katy Perry Super Bowl halftime show was simply riveting and spectacular.
you know who started all this, right? It's the first
The
time they.
shark?
What's that?
I said the shark. Like, was it the shark?
No,
That
no,
was the
no.
big.
Well, that was the Katy Perry. Yes. No, but you know who started the whole halftime show? Because the halftime show used to be literally like a high school band would march out and like, you know,
They should just do that again. That'd be great.
it was the Chargers Niners Super Bowl. Michael Jackson was the first big name.
Probably because they knew that it was about to be one of the least entertaining football games of all time. So they're just like, get MJ.
What, you didn't believe in Natrone means? You didn't think Natrone meant
And
business?
Stan Humphries?
Stan Humphries, come on.
Yeah.
55-10 or something.
Isn't that the monkey off my back game where Steve Young's like,
Steve Young
take
has
the
5
monkey?
touchdown passes. That's when Dion was on the one year he was on the
Yeah,
Niners.
it was the year where it was a fait accompli.
That was just after they beat the Cowboys, it was all over. Anyway, good stuff, good stuff. So, you know, we'll check in with Bad Bunny. We'll check in with various escalations that the administration is proffering. But let's take a trip back to 2013 and talk about
Simpler time, truly.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I was sitting exactly where I am now. I have not moved since then. My
But I
apartment.
mean to say that, like, one of the soft results of the Obama era, right, is that almost looking back now at the speed with which things have unfolded, 2013 feels like closer to 1993 than it does 2025.
Yeah, that makes strange amount of sense. I would agree with that. Um, yeah. So this documentary, as we said, is a part of a series called "How to Survive the End of the World," and the first episode, which we watched for this episode, is about zombies. And we've talked about zombies a number of times before on the show, though perhaps not as often as you might think, considering their presence in popular culture over the last 25 years.
We came out hot. Wasn't episode 2 was Last of Us?
That's right. Last of Us Season 1, Episode 2. We have still not done Last of Us Season 2, and we're probably not going to. It
It
was,
was a train wreck.
yeah, it wasn't for me,
Bit of an apocalypse.
if you will. It was a sort of Ragnarok of taste. More recently, we covered Shaun of the Dead, Episode 76, and part of apparently a mini zombie series, 28 Days Later, Episode 75. And eventually we're going to have to get around to George Romero's Night of the Living Dead series. Zombies are not real for the most part, so we've kind of leaned more into real apocalyptic scenarios. I mean, not entirely. We've had a bunch of episodes on aliens, but you know, we've talked a lot about climate change and
those are real. But yeah, we'll cover that later.
Well, those are real, but are they here? That's the question. And then
Sure.
AI, we've obviously done an inordinate amount of episodes on, for good reason. After watching this National Geographic documentary, however, I asked myself, are we right to ignore this threat for so long?
Yes. I had the same thought.
So the basic premise is, what if there were a real illness that could, in effect, create zombies? To quote the show, a disease that turns men into monsters, a medical establishment on the verge of collapse.
I like that too, that a disease that could turn men into monsters would merely put the medical establishment on the verge of collapse.
Yeah. Just like, oh, it's a little closer to the edge. We got to haul it back towards the center of the platform or whatever.
Before you explain the basic premise, it's kind of important to note that one of the things that I think happens a lot with these types of series, and it's fair, is that like the title will grab you, and then you'll see like it's a little less than zombie as you think of it.
Well, it's a real world version of zombies. And what is that? Well, let me build up the suspense a little bit more. So the documentary starts out with some acted sequences. Thank God. I love these. And where else would we be except Provincetown, Massachusetts? Oh, is it a lively gay rave, you ask? No. It is an old man and a teenager having a sailing lesson. Two people on a rather large boat, perhaps a boat too large to be sailed by just two people, but never mind. And the sort of narrator says, "We wrongly think we have mastered the earth. This, however, is an illusion."
Yes.
And a cosmologist, Hakeem Olue, comes out and says, you know, an area that we haven't thought about enough is the microscopic world of infectious disease. And it's like, well, in 2013, you hadn't thought about this enough. But it's a theme that will come back throughout our discussion. The shadow of our experiences with COVID kind of hangs over our perception of this documentary because this is a pre-COVID doc, much in the way certain films in the 90s and 2000s would be thought of as being pre 9/11, right? I mean, this is kind of.
I think that's a great comparison, and documentaries about like terrorist threats and stuff that you would watch in the 90s.
And be like, oh, it makes you think. Oh,
yeah,
anyway, back to my day. I'm not too worried about that. How are the Packers doing? This Brett Favre's really exciting.
Is they don't have access to huge airplanes, for example. That would be too difficult.
So then a former CDC official, Stephanie Factor, great name, points us to the fact that diseases, like all living things, over time can mutate, can change. Diseases that were once familiar can become strange, much like an old friend.
Is, essentially what someone then took and turned into The Last of Us, right?
Yeah. I mean, Last of Us is cordyceps, which is this real parasite fungus that infects insects.
Right. But the sort of thought that they open up here with is very similar to that scene, the flashback scene at the very beginning of Last of Us, where there's a talk show type thing.
Yep. No, exactly.
Calmly explaining that, like, the diseases that exist right now could easily become uncontrollable.
That's right. So we cut back to our dramatic sequence, and the boat is heading out of the harbor, and they see a whale, and the teacher's like, oh, the whale looks like it's in trouble. It must be sick. It wouldn't be in the harbor otherwise. And then, just without warning, the whale breaches and smashes their boat to smithereens. It's a CGI whale. It looks terrible in the best way. And then we cut.
See it foaming at the mouth, but
no, but we'll soon learn. They cut away, and two sailors were killed when a whale. And we learn that they died. We sort of see them jumping away from this, the whale attacks, but they're dead. The whale killed them. And we see a bunch of scientists dissecting the whale on the beach. And there's this one woman who's like, yeah, I cut my hand a little while we were cutting up. That happens when you're in there working on the whale blubber or whatever. They're trying to figure out why the whale did this. What we learn eventually is that the whale has rabies. That's right. It's a rabid whale. Now, has there ever been a rabid whale in nature? Not documented, but whales are mammals. Yep. All it would take is a bite from a rabid otter. Now, basically, we cut to a talking head who explains zoonotic illness, the myth of zoonotic illness, illness. As we know from our COVID, and as you've taught me, Michael, diseases only come from lab leaks. They never leap from animals to humans. A professor from Columbia, Stephen Morse, pushes this zoonotic lie, and he mentions SARS, which, being a denizen of the greater Toronto area, well, a little bit outside the GTA, you remember SARS when it struck in Canada, right?
I do remember SARS. I remember definitely being on the side of like these people in masks are pushing it a little much.
Well, it was much bigger in Asia, right? I mean, there were at Hong Kong and a couple of cities in China. There were actual.
Honestly, my biggest memory of SARS is SARS Fest, no question.
Which when we were up in Canada, we talked about SARS Fest.
We'll probably do an episode on SARS Fest. It was a remarkable cultural touchstone.
Yeah, we didn't hear much. We didn't hear that much about SARS Fest. What's that?
Justin Timberlake and AC/DC on the same set. It was great.
Paradise, as I like to say. So, could people catch an illness from whale plague? Well, unfortunately, the woman we saw in the previous cutscene who cut herself is now infected. She's getting rounded up by the cops. She's frothing at the mouth. She's screaming at a sort of cage, and she's spitting, and she spits on one of the officers who's trying to restrain her. And this is when we get to the sort of more hypothetical. Rabies is a deadly illness. It's real. It exists. You get your pets, if they go outside, vaccinated for rabies, right? It's fairly standard. It's pretty well controlled in North America. There are parts of the world where it is less controlled. For instance, in Turkey. This is one of my big dread. I used to go to Turkey all the time. I always feared that I would get rabies somehow.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, irrationally. It's not like
sure.
But, I mean, are you familiar with irrational paranoid illness-based delusions, Michael? Yeah.
I meant more like really you. I mean, right? I'm already.
I think I was psychologically
already taking Turkey off of the honeymoon list after you just told me this rabies.
I I was a little bit more mentally unstable at the time, I think.
Sure. Okay.
So more prone to paranoia, we might say. But I remember petting a cat, a totally friendly street cat, of which there are thousands, and thinking to myself, I've just gotten rabies. And it's
Is
like
this
the
it?
cat did not bite me. The cat, I just touched it. It's not enough to transmit. That needs to be some kind of breaking of skin. And
Yeah.
that's the thing with rabies. It doesn't spread that easily. You have to actually come into contact. But what this documentary slash infotainment feature poses is, what if rabies were to become more infectious? What if it were to become an airborne illness? And they actually show some footage of a guy in Iran, not far from Turkey, suffering from rabies in the 60s, which I thought was kind of in poor taste, right?
I think so too.
Like
Yeah.
watching this poor guy like foaming at the mouth. I'm like, why is this on my screen? I don't. Can we do
Yeah.
can we do like a reenactment
It
of
felt a
this?
little unnecessary because you could just act the mouth foaming.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Just do a
Yeah.
reenactment. Like we don't have to. Anyway, and then we do in fact see our lady from the reenactments foaming at the mouth. She's rabid. She's screaming. And what if rabies went airborne? Well, the Falmouth PD, who've taken this woman in, never mind Falmouth, quite far from Provincetown. I'm not sure they'd be the ones dealing with this. Never mind. All my Cape heads out there know what I'm talking about. The only way to find rabies is you have to the creature has to be dead. There's no like test. You can't like give an animal or a person a test. If you get exposed to rabies, you have to have the vaccine within, I think, 36 or 48 hours. Like you have to get it pretty quickly, and you have to certainly get it before any symptoms appear, or else you will die. And the whole thing of the whale being the source of the rabies, I found very odd. I guess just because it's so unlikely. Now, much to my relief, the doc at this point pivots to, what if this airborne rabies, what if it came from a lab?
Uh-oh.
What if this is a bioweapon? And we have like ominous cuts where like Russia, China, like flash in the background. It's not directly pinning the blame on them, but certainly
It's suggesting that maybe they do have the anthrax leak, the Russian anthrax leak story.
you don't
in
need to
there.
be a weatherman to know which way the wind blows, you know? I mean, like,
And in a sense, this was perhaps a little ahead of its time, if what we are now told about COVID is true,
which I don't believe it to be true, but I am playing along that it is
We
true.
are told it. We are told it.
So biological weapons, they tell us, were banned in the Biological Warfare Convention at the UN in the 1970s. But those wily Soviets, they didn't stop. They rebranded it. And you know who else did? America. Right?
Yeah, that part's not in the documentary, but yes.
Well, this will come up. This will come up when we do our anthrax attacks episode, which
That's right.
I'm desperate to do, because I was like looking at Bruce Ivan's like blog posts that were in the FBI doc tranche and stuff, or his
We'll
weird.
do it soon. We'll do it soon. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean it's very dark, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Watching you spiral about these things is what I mean is fun.
What's that?
Watching you spiral about events like this is what is fun.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So they do mention this Russian anthrax leak where 60 people died in the 80s, I believe. So this cop who got the cop in the reenactment, he's at the gym. He's huffing and puffing. We see little droplets of spittle just going out on this random fellow gym goer. We're to understand that, what started as like there were 2 people infected, very quickly the infection is spreading, and there's no way to test for it. So this is what one of the talking heads says is a killer cocktail. We have a killer cocktail on our hands. Now, up until this point in the doc, they haven't mentioned the fact that there is
so desperate to not say perfect storm.
Yeah. Killer cocktail.
He stretched a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. There is a rabies vaccine that they don't mention until a little bit later in the doc.
Mm-hmm.
They call back to the fact that, there is vaccine, but it's very limited. We have rabies under control. We don't need
right. And that leads to one of the parts that I found really interesting, right? Where
how would we prioritize who gets the rabies vaccine?
First direct sort of COVID thing comparison, right, is the whole danger of this section of the documentary is like, okay, well, Problem would be, even if there is a vaccine, problem number one, if there's a limited supply, who gets it? Look, everyone's going to be clamoring for the vaccine. People do not want to die. No matter what, if you say we have a vaccine, you're going to have every single citizen banging down your door to take it.
Blockbuster scenario, just people lined up around city blocks, around the CDC or whatever.
And yet, it seems that with the hindsight of time, they may have slightly gotten that wrong. And it's funny, it's part of the charm of the documentary here is that like the concerns that they have not only didn't happen, but they were actually replaced by concerns so much crazier. Right? Their concerns are quite logical. We're talking about scientists.
There's a limited supply of vaccine. Right. How are we going to get enough to all the people that will be clamoring for it?
That's right.
When in point of fact, a large percentage, not a majority, but a huge.
The other part of it that we'll get into in a bit, the quarantine bit, but it is to tie this into it, is that like there's this great moment where like, look, it would be very easy to isolate people who are healthy. That would be no problem. The issue would be isolating people who have the illness.
Who are rabid.
And it's like, yeah, maybe that part is different than COVID, but like actually it seems as though pretty easy to isolate people
who are sick.
And wait, it was actually impossible.
I mean, after 2 weeks, it was like,
we gave it a fortnight.
Yeah, couldn't do it.
Even people who were concerned were like saying that every random person was magically part of their 10-person pod or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. John, who I haven't seen in 8 years, and now I'm eating dinner with outside.
He's in the pod. We're in the pod. We're in the pod.
It's like the Seinfeld speed dial episode where you like have 10 people, but you're constantly replacing and ranking. But it's
wait, I'm off your speed dial?
I've had 37 people in my 10-person pod since COVID hit.
Yeah, those are good times. They call back to the 1918 flu wisely. Obviously, were this doc to be remade today, it would call back to COVID-19 and the whole thing would be completely different because, 1918 flu, considerably more deadly than COVID. I think
COVID, 7 million?
7 million killed so far by estimates. I mean, maybe more, maybe less. But a lot. That's a lot of people. 1918 flu, population of the world, much smaller. I think it's almost like 100 million. It's like a massive number of people died. It was a much higher fatality rate also. They keep starting to, they start to flash ominous numbers like 57,000 infected, 22,000 dead throughout the rest of the doc, which did break.
Does it get up there? It gets up there in a hurry, as we will talk about.
Yeah, and it brought back those 2020 vibes. Then we hear some
brought back when Cuomo was America's sweetheart.
Yeah. Damn, we learned some bad news. Toronto destroyed. And before I got to go on my full city tour.
That's right.
When we were up there, we were only able to tour. Gone. What's that?
Oasis will never be there.
Toronto used to be an oasis. No more. It's now a hell. It is now a hellhole. Anyway, the TV news anchor says, "Don't approach anyone who could be rabid." Thanks.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, news anchor. So
don't finally weighing in.
Yeah, so don't approach anyone is what you're saying. I feel like this is fairly accurate as to how COVID sort of played out with like people getting
in some ways.
In the broad strokes, the news media relaying information, people trying to do the right thing.
But it's also like these people in government and in CDC working hard, and not like they left out the part of like the president yelling to inject yourself with bleach and
shine a light inside of your body, that'll kill it.
Yeah.
They say, if vaccine supply is limited, that might cause social problems. Yeah. Also,
would the Trump thing be one of those like, is it an unknown? In the
Rumsfeldian, yeah.
Would Trump's behavior here like a leader?
No, but I think Trump is a known unknown, right?
No, but I'm saying the way he reacted, but in the context of this documentary, when we're like, why didn't they predict that? Would that be, we don't even know what we don't know? Would that be an unknown? Like, would you be able?
I mean, I guess in 2013 you could not have anticipated that.
You couldn't have conceived of a president being like, put sunlight into yourself.
No, that's true. That's true. So another problem they raise: would the vaccine work if this is mega rabies? If this is lab leak rabies, I mean not lab leak, but deliberately leaked rabies.
And similar to what happened in real life, the vaccine didn't work.
Right? Well, it didn't work 100%.
That's right. Right.
No vaccine works.
Vaccine 100%. By any other, I suppose. But yeah.
But in this, they toy out a scenario where people get the vaccine and are acting like they're fine. They get bit and they're like, oh, I have the vaccine. And then they get rabies anyway.
That's right.
You sort of, did you imagine? You're like, oh, I'm fine. I have the vaccine. And then
the
foaming commenced.
Well, yes, with rabies. But like, yeah, with COVID, like there was certainly a time when, we felt like when we were vaccinated that there was a moment where it was like, okay, we're good out.
Yeah.
And then it was like, wait.
Oh, I have COVID again.
Not that it is a hoax. I'm not actually saying that. I'm kidding, but in a sense. But like there was this hoax moment. Certainly people viewed it as a hoax, right?
Oh. Yeah.
A lot of people. And this is one of the comparisons that is absolutely correct, that yeah, like if a hoax could affect public trust, like it would only amplify the catastrophe. And we saw a lack of public trust be one of the critical elements in scaling up when it
right. And I mean, ironically, that, as we've already said, that lack of public trust was abetted by the president constantly.
That's right.
Just like literally standing with the medical people, undercutting them as
like threatening to take the head of the CDC to jail for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, just very, very bizarre. Yeah, I think they also underestimate the industrial capacity that, like, based on how quickly the COVID vaccine, imperfect as it was manufactured out of nothing. Well, this is like rabies vaccine exists, right?
This I don't quite know enough about the science of it, right? Because of the fact that wasn't the COVID thing like a breakthrough in mRNA?
Well, I mean, the COVID vaccine thing was...
Would they have thought about that in 2013 as a possible leap?
Well, they wouldn't have needed to. They already had the rabies vaccine. So even if this is super rabies, surely
you're saying just the production of
the ability to make millions of doses quickly. Yeah, we could have done that. Like that's something that this.
I mean, we still had like governors in parking lots trying to buy masks and stuff. But
that was masks. That was very early. I'm saying like this is a little different because it's not.
Might not have been a governor. We'll fact check that in the bio.
It might have been a mayor, might have been a city council, an alderman, perhaps an ombudsman.
I hope it was an ombudsman.
Unclear why he was designated to do this.
Get the ombudsman. Yeah, he's going to the Walmart parking lot. So we're at like 1 billion.
Suddenly they cut to 2.2 billion infected, 1 billion dead.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And social collapse, right? 1 billion people dead of rabies. I mean, society
no longer on the verge.
Society is over, right? I mean, vigilantes ruling, Mad Max scenario, a little teaser to what we might be covering next week.
And then we get into the quarantine and isolation section.
Which is really funny because, in point of fact, when COVID happened, the first thing that happened was quarantining and isolation. Where they act like here, it's a step of last resort.
Right.
Which is odd.
Like that part made less sense than anything else in the documentary because, of course, like the most, like even with the people we had in charge, the only logical response was lockdown while trying to get vaccine. Right?
Totally.
And like they at least started in that vein, if not vaccine, like to figure out the illness, how bad is this, all of that.
Yeah.
And in the case that you're talking about, where we already have a vaccine, you would just lock down and turn every factory into a rabies vaccine factory.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, exactly.
But they waited until there were 1 billion deaths.
They're like, wait, what if we tried quarantine?
I think we might need to separate these people a little bit. And the isolation stuff we already talked about, but then my favorite one is the reverse quarantine. Wait,
what if we get all the healthy people to get together in a town?
Yeah. And like, we've all seen shows and, there's obviously
Walking Dead, right?
That great town in Last of Us, right?
Yep.
And they do actually mention a town, I believe it's in Colorado, right? That
during...
It was funny because while they're explaining it, like, okay, during the Spanish flu, right?
Yeah.
They had like hard and fast rules that they actually adhered to.
And no one got sick.
Yeah. And then even in 2013, in fairness to them, which they definitely predicted. They were like, yeah, but that would be hard to keep those rules together. It's like,
Indeed.
yes, yes, doctor, you were correct.
Yeah, and this one they hypothetically posit Ames, Iowa, which immediately reminded me of the Ames strain of anthrax, which
Oh,
was thought to originate in Ames, Iowa, was not actually from Ames, Iowa. It was from Texas. But the Ames, Iowa CDC like label got on the box of the sample. The Ames strain of anthrax is the strain that was used in the 2001 attacks.
okay, got it.
So the reverse quarantine is called a cordon sanitaire,
I love that.
if you will.
If
I
only
don't.
we had more effective cordon sanitaire.
Yes,
Back in-
if only there had been more French terminology. I'm sure that would have increased the popularity of these measures.
Typically in America, that works perfectly.
Right. So we see a little clip. There's like a military checkpoint. People are coming through. Then suddenly the checkpoint is just overwhelmed very easily
By zombies.
by zombies, by rabid people. Oh no! I wrote in the notes. Ames has fallen. Then we see 4.6 billion infected in 2 years, 2 billion dead.
Just a
Then
couple Billy.
just a couple billion. That's all. Now, one of the
And then we get to my favorite part of the whole
what is
documentary.
one solution for this? Water world. Basically,
Water World. Water World is basically what they've come up with, which hydrophobia is a symptom of the disease, right? And
because you
the
can't swallow, and when you see
like if you've seen
water,
people with rabies, any like like a clip of it, and people are trying to feed them water and that's part of what accelerates the problem is that you can't take in any water anymore,
right?
right?
That's why
And
it's
so,
part of the reason you die. I mean,
yes,
it's in your brain also.
typically if you don't have water, you will die.
But it also eventually, like, you stop breathing.
Right. And that's not like a mainstream media thing. Like if you don't drink water, you will eventually die, right, Stu? Don't you think?
Well, according to RFK Jr., yes, this is in fact true.
Yeah. But like this part of the documentary is kind of like these security teams and these sort of wide moats around towns.
Yep.
So that you would have these images of kind of like gangs of roving rabid.
Very familiar from zombie films.
Yeah. That they come up on water and they get scared because it develops this fear because seeing water makes you swallow. And once you can't and it's painful, you then get scared of the sight itself.
That's right.
And it's essentially pitched as like
it's a Pavlovian thing, I guess.
This should or could they do describe it as a long shot, right? It's not like, but it presents the story to give them the way forward, which you should take over talking a bit about how
But then they're like, oh, but what if it became even more transmissible? What if it got into mosquitoes?
Oh, right.
At which point, all bets are off,
Right.
Then it's just like, we're dead. But the last image of the documentary is an optimistic note. They say, throughout all the plagues of history, there's this one X factor, and that is that some people would be naturally immune to rabies.
Yeah.
People were naturally immune to the bubonic plague. 10% of Northern Europeans are naturally immune to HIV, just something I did not know.
Wow. What?
Seems very high, but yeah, that apparently is true. The reason why is inheritance and immunity developed thousands and thousands of years ago, and you just inherited those genes that have the antibodies pre-programmed into your mitochondria or what have you. I don't know. That's a hypothesis. I'm not a doctor. And in fact, in the Peruvian rainforest, some groups have been shown to be naturally immune to rabies. And you can tell this because doing blood, you say, oh, they have rabies antibodies. That's weird. Has anyone given them a vaccine?
Wow.
And it's like, no, they have naturally occurring rabies. That means they've been infected. They don't have rabies. They have the antibodies that kill the rabies before it infects them.
Yes, so and this is the ending to kind of be like life will go on type thing.
Yeah, and we'll all be Peruvian, to which I say, sign me up, I welcome it.
So Viche at the end of the world? Why not?
Yeah. Head back to Machu Picchu, hang out. It'd be great. So, not... I mean, I thought this is a pretty good infotainment vessel.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like where I would recommend it. I feel like it is for those of you who are still partying and drinking. this is amazing hangover fodder.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right, where you don't have the capability for anything other than maybe a show you've seen before. You certainly can't entertain a movie.
No,
that
no,
you have.
no.
This is like so easy. You can kind of close your eyes and listen to a talking head.
40 minutes, yeah.
See a whale being cut open. 40 minutes, but like a bunch of episodes if you just want to like let it press next episode for you. And by the time the 6 episodes are done, I mean, we'll find out. We'll do the next ones throughout the podcast, as we said. You'll have had your Advil, you've had your Gatorade.
It'll be kicking in.
Yeah, you go get brunch.
You're right.
That's where this slots for me.
I think that's exactly right. This is certainly the kind of thing I would have watched in college under those exact conditions.
Exactly. That's right.
And a History Channel, one of those early 2000s true crime documentary. Oh man, yeah, it's just like that. And having been myself a victim of rabies paranoia in the past, I was like, oh good, I can become afraid of rabies again. Let's see.
It's always fun to double down on your neuroses, as I found out many times in this life.
By being alive, you found that out, right? Now, I dropped a hint as to what we'd be doing next week. It's been a long time coming. I actually made the graphic for this episode like over a year ago. And we're talking about the second Mad Max film, The Road Warrior. Eventually we'll come around and do the first one, but the second one for me is the sort of emblematic entry in this series. George Miller, peak Mel Gibson. This is Mel Gibson's breakthrough role.
I do want to say I'm very excited about next week, but there's the last thing that we have talked about in a couple of the COVID discussions that we've had on the podcast.
Oh yeah, please.
Interesting part of this, the sort of tying at the end of the documentary together, is like I think it remains very important to realize that despite the feeling that it was such a calamity and the feeling that it was handled so poorly,
7 million dead.
That ultimately, and I'm not saying this because of the strength of the human spirit or any stuff shit like that.
Nothing sentimental.
Saying it is very despairing and frightening, far more exacerbating of my fear and anxiety and hypochondria than rabies in Turkey. That the bar is so much higher for how badly the next run of this can go.
Yeah,
and
with just a disease that's more fatal,
and with a lack of public trust and will that is gone in so many ways, that essentially we have opened ourselves up to, even when it comes to COVID, be reinfected throughout the rest of our lives or whatever.
Yeah, it's endemic at this point.
To say nothing of when something comes even somewhere between the scale of COVID-19 and what they presented with this rabies documentary.
Yeah, to borrow from Pearl Jam, the state of love and trust is not good, right? But yeah. So next week, Mel Gibson, Mad Max, fun movie, despite Mel Gibson's evil.
Yep.
I think we'll still be able to enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to it. In the meantime, if you like the show, you can follow us on the podcatcher of your choice. And if you really like it, you can leave us a rating and/or review on that podcatcher.
Say something nice, ideally.
Yeah, we haven't had any reviews in a while. A nice review would really lift our spirits.
Well, we've had some nice numbers, but the reviews aren't following. So
it's okay.
Maybe that's on us.
As long as folks keep listening, we'll keep producing podcasts. Let's put it that way. Until rabies strikes us down. You can also follow us on Instagram at the End of the World WMS, where we post amusing reels, highlights of each episode a little bit before the episode itself emerges from its chrysalis. But next week, Mad Max. Until then, this has been the End of the World with Michael and Stu.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu. And we'll talk to you real soon.